Hi, everyone. So I'm Pat. I'm on the Women Rise team. With me today, I have Emily Drewley and Andrea Urban. I'm going to introduce both of them. Emily Drewley, she leads the marketing for Voice, an NFT platform for creators. She has a focus on content and community initiatives, which is very important in the NFT space. Her background includes running social media at major organizations like NASDAQ and Forbes. She also studied journalism at Northwestern University and has consulted for multiple startups on communication strategy. So thank you so much for joining us. Emily, if you want to add to that, feel free.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's so exciting to be a part of this. Ever since I heard about Women Rise, I've wanted to be a supporter. So excited to be part of the community, and I have been kind of put into the NFT space within the past year, and it's been incredible to watch it grow. And I'm just really proud to be a part of it.
That's awesome. So Andrea Urban, she is the Artist Relations Director at Niftys. This is a place where you can create, collect, and curate digital art and other NFT collectibles. She's also been immersed in a contemporary art environment for several years with previous roles in the Museum of Contemporary Art Los Angeles, the Gagosian Gallery, and Parkett Publishers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'll just echo Emily. I'm so excited to be part of the Women Rise NFT launch. Just so proud of what you guys are all doing.
Awesome. I'm going to add, there you go. So yeah, today we're discussing the environmental sustainability and NFTs. I feel like this is like such a constant controversial debate. There's so many pros to NFTs, but also I find, the environmental impact could be a con. Some of the pros to NFTs is, they give power back to creators. They help you remove the middleman. You can also incorporate all the advantages of decentralization, transaction, immutability, traceability, and, proof of ownership and authenticity. Do these outweigh the environmental cons? They make an impact. They do make an impact on the environment as crypto transactions take up energy, but it's so debatable, right? Like, is this a problem that can be solved, or is this something that a lot of people believe, oh, maybe this shouldn't exist? So with that being said, we're gonna get right into it. Something I find is whenever I talk about NFTs, the environment and its impacts are brought up and debated. So to start, what are your thoughts on this?
I can go right ahead into that. Absolutely, it was one of the hot topics that came out of, I think, that first Beeple sale that caught my attention to NFTs. I'm pretty, what we would say, new in the space, starting just at the end of May in the NFT space. And, it's really upsetting to hear some of the impact that, the minting is costing on the environment. How much one mint can take, how it equals a week's worth of someone's household electricity bill or something like that. That seems a little strange for us who are thinking this is not something tangible in this sense. There are companies, though, including Niftys, that are working really hard to kind of eliminate that aspect of the conversation, because it can be so damaging for a lot of the artists that are trying to, make a name for themselves. So just I'll let you know what Niftys is doing. We've partnered with Palm, and that's the blockchain we're built on. And Palm is a side chain to Ethereum. So they're using a proof of stake concept. So it turned out to be 99.99% more efficient than minting on Ethereum. And there's no gas fees involved in what we're doing there as well. So really kind of from our site, we're able to be a little more experimental with artists, take on larger scale projects without that environmental impact.
Yeah, and it's a similar scenario with us at Voice as well. I think what comes down to it, and what the headlines can't include in the few words that they have, is that the environmental impact isn't the NFTs themselves, right? It's the chain. And I think that for people who aren't digging into the how NFTs are made, or what the technology of blockchain, it can be easy just to write them off. But I think Niftys and Voice and more platforms now are saying, okay, there's a different way that we can do this, and artists shouldn't need to feel like they're giving up on their environmental interests in order to participate in NFTs. And for us, the chain we're built on, EOS.io, is also carbon neutral. And so it's been a big topic of conversation for a lot of people who are saying, like, I wanted to get involved for so long, but I either felt like I couldn't because of the impact, or two, I felt like I would be shamed because of the impact. So I think we've got a long ways to go. And I'm so happy that this conversation is happening, so people kind of understand that it isn't just like a yes or no decision, right? There are alternatives.
Definitely. I totally agree. Maybe we can go over like a few of the chains that you guys are using for your platforms and kind of educate the audience on that. Because for instance, like Ethereum, the gas fees are so high. And so that's one of the big reasons, like the crypto transactions are what cause the, I guess, environmental impacts, because it takes so much energy to mine and compute, right? So, there's other chains which you guys are using. Maybe we could elaborate a little bit on that and how they work, and how they're a little bit more environmentally friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because I just mentioned our chain is EOS.io, and it's one that, is a little bit unique because we use dedicated proof of stake. So EOS.io was invented by Voice's parent company, Block One, and basically only utilizes the carbon footprint of a few individuals versus thousands of miners across the world. And I think, we as a company also have said, okay, what else can we do? We offset even the few employees who are going into an office. We are offsetting that commuting as well. So it's both the technology and then I think a corporate, commitment to being environmentally friendly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll just add on Nifty's. We're using the Palm blockchain. It's using the same proof of stake method.
Yeah, I find when people are more educated in the space, they know about the different chains. But Ethereum tends to be one of the most commonly used ones and one that's kind of put on the forefront. Do you think that we need to do more marketing on these chains, or how can we get kind of the word out? Like Tezos is also a platform that's doing quite well, right? But like right now, I feel like the reason why everyone is so, saying NFTs are so bad for the environment is just because they mostly know about like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the big chains that are just like consuming all this energy. So how can we change that?
Well, one thing Niftys is trying to do is to onboard 1 million people into NFTs. So with that, we're doing large scale projects that are really capturing the eyes of a lot of people who aren't typically in the NFT world yet. We're making it really easy to onboard people into the process so they don't have to have a MetaMask. Without giving too much of a pitch on our platform, with that, I think the adoption of NFTs using Palm or using like these more eco-friendly blockchains, with that mass scale, I think we can very easily scale up into just a much more common usage of these chains. Making it more easy for people to trade on these chains, like without all the gas fees. It's going to make a lot more people be able to use it because they're not spending hundreds of dollars on gas for each transaction.
Yeah, I think we're rapidly approaching a world where gas fees need to go by the wayside. I think chains that don't have gas fees are just so much more creator centric, and I think it's interesting. I'm of two parties when it comes to that eco impact conversation around like marketing of chains, because I think, yes, like we need to talk about this more, and we need to tell people and teach people about proof of stake versus proof of work and all of that. But I also think that there's a lot of industries where people don't necessarily understand the technology that drives or powers platforms that they use every day. Like I certainly don't understand how Netflix works. I just go to Netflix and it works. And so I think like the part of the conversation around this is because we're so early that the people who are super involved are super technically interested in the background. But I think that like when we see mass adoption of NFTs, the conversation won't be around the chains. It will just like the platforms that use chains that are environmentally friendly and have no gas fees will be the ones that that make it mainstream. So a little bit of education and a little bit of patience is my strategy.
Patience is key, I think, for sure, because we're so early into it. So Women Rise, we are on the Ethereum blockchain. And the reason why we did this is we just felt like it would have the greatest impact, right? So it's like, is this unethical, right? Sometimes we get call outs on like, hey, you know what? Like, this is unsustainable. Do you know how much energy Ethereum takes up? But at the same time, we just feel like it's a project that's making really great and big changes. And it just feels right now, you know, it's the most effective way to make that real change. So perhaps, is it bad that we're, you know, on the Ethereum chain for now? Does it balance out? In my opinion, sometimes I kind of feel like, you know, I think the fact that these artists have the power to sell their art and just like, sorry, I get a little bit nervous on camera sometimes.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. So it's like, is it unethical, right? Because like Women Rise, for example, like it's an organization that's really bettering the lives of so many women around the world and will continue to do so. Like, I don't necessarily see it as an NFT project. We see it as like an organization that's making change into the lives of many other people. Another example is like, there's this company called Coco NFT, which I'm also a part of. When we did a drop with Susan Sarandon, we dropped to help exonerate Stephen Donziger, and she got a lot of backlash because everyone was like, NFTs are so unsustainable. But at the same time, the reason why we were doing this was to help exonerate Stephen Donziger, who is an attorney known for his legal battles with Chevron, and he's fighting for the lives of like 10,000 Ecuadorians in a case against Chevron related to the environmental damage caused by like the oil drilling. So at the same time, I kind of almost feel like, is it a write-off, or is it okay that we use NFTs for a greater cause?
I think it's so much of it is context, because exactly as you said, like this is a cause that is doing good and bettering the world around it. I would also say that like most people are probably not aware of the environmental impact of like most of the things they participate in. And I feel like that is like a very like NFT defensive, position to take. But it's true, is like most industries have a terrible environmental impact. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't all be working to improve that. We absolutely should. And I know that like Ethereum is working on that, right? And I don't know, I don't want to excuse, a bad for the environment project, but at the same time, I kind of do, because again, it goes back to context.
Yeah, that's true. And there's so many other aspects as well too. It's like, do you drive a car? What about your fast fashion consumption habits, right? Like all these people who are attacking these like NFT projects aren't necessarily looking at all the other things in the world that are going on, like perhaps NFTs, because, I believe NFTs are the future, like contracts, architecture, real estate, like can be used for so many things. Will that eliminate potential towers that are consuming so much energy, right? Like what other things can it make more efficient and prove to be more environmentally friendly and sustainable?
It's making me think of Al Gore, and he released that movie about the environment that we all got really excited about. And then he lives in a 15,000 square foot home that takes up a ton of energy all the time. So, it's kind of a similar situation. But I do think there are ways that, we can make sure that we are offsetting where we can. So there's companies that a friend of mine turned me on to called Offsetra that was like £9 in, British pounds. You could pay £9 and it offsets like 100,000 or 1,000 tons of carbon. So there are really like efficient and cheap ways to kind of help companies who are actually making an effort in sustainability, kind of support them too. So if you are able to be really successful in an NFT project, you could help offset that. If you're a big collector, you can help offset that too.
Definitely. There's a lot of companies that are doing carbon offsetting. I know like Ariel is one, the one that you guys mentioned. There's so many. So it's like there are other little ways too that people get involved in being a bit more environmentally friendly. Let's see. Are there any initiatives that you've kind of like heard of in the crypto space that are really making like a big push or impact in the in the NFT and crypto world. I guess I kind of bring that up because I've been hearing things about like, using like mining to power homes, using the heat generated, right, to power homes. There are so many different ways. Any other things that you guys have heard about or have been involved with?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I mean, there's always so much, right?
Yeah. I find it so hard too, like with the NFT space, like everything is just moving.
A good one.
Everything moves so quickly. So it's like, that's like going on. Like there may be like one chain, that's like really sustainable. And then like, once you do a deep dive, you're like, oh shoot, there's like 20, 30 other ones as well too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think that the general excitement over, either I've seen people who, when they sell, as you said, Andrea, like, they individually are doing the offsetting, or saying, like, yeah, I'm not flying to go, talk to my gallery every week. I'm able to do everything online, and therefore that is, my contribution to bettering the environment. I think we're going to see a lot more of this too in the year to come. Like, we have to remember how early we are. I know that it feels like starting to feel very cliche, but it is so true. And I think that more and more of these projects are going to come up, and I'm excited to support them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what would you
that? Just how fast the rise of NFTs has been, and how quickly so many companies are focused on making them more efficient, I think really shows that we all do care very much about that. And same with Ethereum, working themselves on making better solutions. We're definitely trying to get ahead of it before it gets too big or too out of hand.
So like, what is something that you would tell a beginner getting into NFTs on how to respond to these questions and like these messages? What would you kind of get them to say, or how would you kind of encourage them to get into NFTs? Because I know a lot of people, and even like traditional artists as well too. Like I personally get a lot of these messages from traditional artists, but I think it's just more so on like the education aspect, right? Like they may not understand NFTs yet. What is something that you would say, or that you would kind of help to encourage beginners getting into the space?
For collectors, I would say come to Niftys and shop around. We're actually going to be starting some individual artist drops pretty soon, so you'll see a lot of beautiful artwork on the site starting in December. But if you're paying gas fees, you might want to question what those are, right? And how much more did you just spend on gas that doesn't add to the value of your piece? It's even if you wanted to sell it, you're going to pay something there too. So to do a little bit of research into a lot of the platforms that are using eco-friendly methods to do their minting, it is really valuable. Making sure you follow artists who also care about the same thing. I know for sure, like the artists that we're bringing onto the platform, one of the main reasons why they really want to work with us is because we're eco-friendly. They're thrilled by that. And the fact that they can put out some artwork that, maybe, their value is not super high. So being able to experiment with lower prices, allowing more people to collect their work more easily without paying all the gas fees is really important to build their audience.
Yeah, I agree. I think research. I think that if you're somebody who's trying to defend an interest in NFTs and defend like entering the space, it's pretty easy to find even if you just Google like environmentally friendly NFTs, like the facts are out there, and so not being easily swayed by kind of this like these headlines that felt very catastrophic. And I think that one thing that I did a panel about this a few weeks ago, and the topic came up, and it kept coming back to like the traditional art world, and I think like there's a ton of environmental like damage done by that, all the shipping and cargo flights, and nothing's perfect. And so I think that like all you can look at is just future facing plans as well, and just considering your individual involvement. And I'm very happy that like similarly, like every person that we talk to about voices, like I want to be a part of this, and I want to be a part of this in a way that aligns with my values. And so I think, yeah, for people who are kind of teetering on the verge of the space, just know what you're getting into and know that you can do so confidently.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. So our target audience, like they're quite beginners. Maybe we could go over a couple of the terms and explanations just to get them a little bit more educated. I think like lazy minting is a great way to be a bit more sustainable in the world of NFTs. And maybe if we could explain the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. I know you explained proof of stake a little bit with your explanation of the chain that you guys are on. Maybe if you guys would like to elaborate on a couple of those terms for our audience to help educate them, we could start with maybe lazy minting. If you like.
Yeah. I think I actually I don't know exactly what that is, but I believe it's just you're able to put your artwork up online and only pay the minting fee once someone purchases it. So you're not paying up front. So you're allowing the artist to not spend too much on putting their artwork out there.
Yeah, so it's basically like the create, like we have it for our editions, and it's basically like, yeah, the work doesn't get actually minted until it's purchased. And so exactly as you said, like it's beneficial for the artist. And it's also, I think the reason you bring it up, Kat, is probably because it's also environmentally beneficial, right? Like we're not like running around minting everything before we know that there is a collector demand. Honestly though, like for a beginner, like you don't, at least on our platform, and I'm not super familiar with every platform, like you can't tell the difference. Like if you're a beginner, like it feels the same experience wise, but it's beneficial on the back end.
Definitely. Should we I think that'd be great for our audience too, to learn a little bit about proof of work and proof of stake. Would you guys like to elaborate on that as well too, and what the differences are and the benefits of a proof of stake chain versus proof of work?
I can try unless Andrea wants
Go for it, Emily.
Caveat that I'm in marketing. I'm new, but honestly, I think that helps because then I can explain it for people who are not like technically super like, up there. So basically, like it's all about like how many block producers you have, right? So like proof of stake is like lots of people mining for blocks, proof of work. So proof of stake is where you have elected block producers. And so you only have a certain number of people who are mining for blocks, and they're not kind of like doing that. When people learn about blockchain, you often learn about like these like complex mathematical problems and that are like unlocking the next block. It's just a matter of like how many people are working on those and new block creation. I feel like I kind of muddled that up, but you kind of get the picture. It's like a few computers versus a ton of servers.
Yeah, no, that honestly, like that was really great. Really appreciate you for like answering the question. Don't mean to put you on the spot there, so I apologize.
I feel like my engineering team is like, I could have explained that so much better.
No, you did really. You guys are doing really great. I do want to apologize a little bit. My connection today has been really wonky, so when you guys are chatting, I can't actually quite hear you. So internet issues on my end. Apologies for that. Hopefully when we rewatch this on the stream, it's a bit smoother.
It looks great for me. I can't like tell that you're having connection issues.
Yeah, I can get bits and pieces of what you guys are saying on my end, but it's just, I don't know what's going on with my internet connection. Working a bit earlier. Yeah. I guess another question too. What do you think the community needs to do better in terms of sustainability in NFTs? Like, how do you think we're going to get there? I know I kind of like asked that question a little bit before, but like, it's kind of, I see it as, the way I see it is just like, people are always like, oh, we're going to be more sustainable. We're getting there. ETH 2.0 is proof of stake, but have we really even got to ETH 2.0 yet? No, we haven't. So it's like, do we put more pressure on people? Do we as a community just need to, I don't know, just like, what do we do? Like, what do you think we need to do, and what direction should we go? I know like a lot of this is very like, there's no definite answer. We're all kind of like learning as we go. And like you said, patience, but is there anything immediate that we can do as a community to go that direction?
I think supporting the artists who have chosen platforms to put their artwork on that are eco-friendly is probably the best way to do it. So, being their supporter, whether you're just at minimum just sharing the project, right? And then being able to collect the work itself would be an incredible way to do it. And then sharing that knowledge, sharing like that exact reason. Maybe that's not the only reason why, but it's an added bonus of why you would collect someone's work. And just making sure that we keep that conversation front and center until we don't need to have it anymore. But that might be a while. But still, like right now, there are options out there. So making sure those options are supported.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think that's perfect. Is like it as kind of these different alternatives start to emerge. Like I'm very much of the camp of sorry. I'm very much in the camp of like the more the merrier, right? Especially when it comes to eco-friendly solutions. And I think the last thing is really to approach it with and like an open heart. And I think the NFT community overall is extremely supportive, but I think a lot of the conversations around eco-friendliness or lack thereof are very like finger pointing. And maybe that's not even coming from within the community, that's coming from outside the community mostly. But just as you phrased the question, Kaz, like, okay, what can we do now? And how can we work together to create a better scenario for everyone involved? And I would like to see that, that friendly tone that the community is known for, go extending outwards as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was so nice to have you guys in this channel and this chat. Thank you for sharing what you guys do, what your projects are, the type of chains you're on, and explaining a couple definitions.
I love to have three women talking blockchain on this call. This has been really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. I guess maybe just like to wrap up, was there anything else maybe that you guys want to touch base on in terms of, let me see. Want to touch base on in terms of the environment that you think we haven't quite covered yet? Perhaps if there are anybody watching who has any questions for Andrea and Emily. Let's see.
I love questions.
I'll just check the Discord and see. I'm just going to check the Discord and see if there's any questions in particular. I guess just to wrap up, like, do not let, the negative environmental impacts, hold you back from getting into the NFT space, because there's so much that is being done and so much that will be done in the space. So we can't let that hinder people from getting into NFTs and learning about NFTs.
Absolutely. Oh,
question.
Oh, is there a question?
Yeah.
There's a question. Is carbon offsetting? Oh, sorry. I honestly think it's my connection.
I'll go ahead and read it. So, is carbon offsetting a good solution in the interim as the market gradually adopts eco-friendly solutions? Offsetting is always offsetting, right? But I think that it's a good solution, and you're supporting companies who are doing the work out there to support the environment. So that can't hurt. But of course, if we don't need to offset in the first place, even better.
Well said. All right. I guess we'll wrap up this chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you guys and chat with you guys again soon. So excited to have you guys in the Women Rise community. And yeah.
This is fun. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, and best of luck with your launch. We're so excited to see it.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to